Hello, world history class. Today we are going to start looking at Islam, the empire, and the faith. A little bit different than the other major world religions we've looked at because, the unifying cultural characteristic of these different empires is that they share, a cultural identity tied to the Islamic religion. And so while the governments and emperors and kings are going to change over a period of hundreds of years, that adherence to the faith is going to kind of be a continuous thing that's going to follow us through this unit. So let's take a look at Islam, the empire, and the faith. I do want to point something out to you. I gave you a first introduction to the physical appearance of Arabic. So if you look, on the board right here, this is Arabic writing, and it says history, the memory of the world. All right. And yes, you're right. You read it from right to left. And if anybody out there can actually read Arabic, it's probably terribly done because I did it with Google Translate. So I'm sure it's not perfect. Let's look at the origins of Islam. All right. So the birth of an empire and a faith. It starts at a town called Mecca. Instantly, all of that geography that we were just working on is going to become relevant. It is a coastal trading town that is located on the west coast of the Arabian Peninsula. All right. It is the birthplace of Muhammad, making it incredibly important to Islam and of the religion of Islam. Okay, so think about all the geography that we just did yesterday. And if you look, it's all kind of coming up now. So here is this map right here. And if we look at the map, this is the Arabic Peninsula. All right, right there. I told you kind of imagine it as a boot. The modern country of Saudi Arabia, but also Yemen and Oman. So just Arabic Peninsula. Here is the city of Mecca. And very important, very shortly, will be the city of Medina right here. And we'll also hit the city of Jerusalem, the city of Baghdad. All of these cities are going to be coming up. Damascus in this area. Okay? So just want to start tying some of those things in. So Muhammad was born in Mecca. All right? So who is Muhammad? It's kind of important. Muhammad is considered to be the last, by Muslims anyway, to be the last and greatest prophet of God, not the only prophet of God. For instance, Muslims think that Abraham is an important prophet of Islam, an important prophet of God. Moses, Jesus is an important prophet in Islam. But Muhammad is the last and greatest prophet that God produced, according to their faith. And if you look at your essential term list that's over on the side, Mecca is the birthplace of Muhammad and is considered the holiest city to Muslims. It is the city that God had chosen to be the birthplace of the Islamic faith. It is also the home to something called the Kaaba. Don't worry about the Kaaba. We'll talk about it later. Also in your term list is a quick definition of Muhammad, that he is the last and greatest prophet of God. It is a singular term or a singular phrase to define him, but one that is incredibly relevant to his place in history and religion. So let's talk about Muhammad as, a human. He was born in Mecca in the 570s. He had a rough start. His father, I think Abdullah was his name, was actually dead before he was born. His mother was dead by the time he was 6 years old. He grew up rough. He didn't have formal schooling. Saudi Arabia has lots of desert areas. He grew up, learning the Arabic traditions in the desert, learning how to trade across the desert, how to tend camels, how to survive and all these types of things. So a hardscrabble youth, definitely not the only person that has that story in history. or in the world. But he is going to grow up through hard work and dedication to be a very respected businessman who is known for being incredibly honest. And even though he's really poor, he works hard. Everybody likes him. He starts gaining a little bit of success. And a wealthy businesswoman from Mecca, a lady named Khadijah, is going to end up marrying him. Later on in our story, when Islam is a religion, she will become the first person after Muhammad to convert to this new faith that is going to arise in the Arabian Peninsula. Okay, so where does the religion come from? All religions have an origin story, right? So Muhammad is going to live this really ordinary life. He's not struggling anymore. His wife is, wealthy. Everybody likes him. He likes to take long walks in the desert since he kind of grew up there. And everything goes that way until the year 610. He's 40 years old. He's out hiking through the desert. And there's like a little small mountain that's nearby. It's called Mount Hira. And he is going to climb up to the top of Mount Hira. He sees a cave. He wants to check it out. And he walks into the cave. And all of a sudden, he is confronted by an angel. And that angel's name is Jibril. Oh, does that sound kind of familiar? It should, because in Christian tradition, that is the angel Gabriel, an angel of God. And Jibril confronts him inside this cave and is saying to him, basically, submit. He's blown away. I mean, who wouldn't be by, an angel confronting you? And he submits, and he listens to what this angel has to say. And what the angel reveals to him, shockingly, are known as the revelations. And there's all these messages that are for mankind that are directly from God, and they're being delivered to his prophet, who is Muhammad. The simple message is this: tell the world that there is only one God. And lots of people are ready to hear that message because the Arabian Peninsula is, in the territory of, where Judaism developed, where, Zoroastrianism developed under the Persians, but also where Christianity is taking off in, the couple hundred years that preceded this. And so if you look, there's a real thing that we need to get our heads around, which is the fact that Islam and Judaism and Christianity are all monotheistic faiths that are closely related to one another. All right. So when we look at the foundational beliefs of Islam, Allah, that term, Allah, it is just the Arabic word for God. All right. Islam is a monotheistic faith. That means one God with incredibly strong ties to Judaism and Christianity. The fact is that the God of Abraham, from, the Torah, becomes the God of Christianity from the Bible, which becomes the God of Islam from the Quran. So even though their practices and rituals and some of their beliefs about salvation are very different, Muslims and Jews and Christians all pray to the same God. They will learn about God and God's teachings from different sacred books. The book of Islam is called the Quran. The Quran, okay, or Quran in the English style. This is the English style of spelling Quran. It is the sacred book of Islam or the holy book of Islam. All right, however you want to write it, it's fine. All right. And so if you were to read it and you have familiarity with like the Christian Bible and you were to read verses out of the Quran, it would sound very familiar to you. I put one verse up, and he is with you wherever you are. God is with you all the time. I mean, it has very similar messages to what is more familiar to, Americans. Okay. And at least Americans that grow up in the Christian tradition. So these words that I'm using, what do they mean? All right. Islam is the name of the religion. All right. And it means submission to the will of God. A Muslim is a person who follows the Islamic faith. All right. It means one who submits. And so because Muhammad submitted to the angel Gabriel, submitted to Allah to hear this message from God, he would be, the first Muslim. All right. This prophet that God has picked to deliver this message to people. And he's going to take these revelations from the angel and he's going to take them back home with him to Mecca. All right. So, what are some other things that you're going to pick up on that become key beliefs besides for monotheism and that type of thing? You might look at this art behind me and think that the artist ran out of time and didn't finish their picture, but that's not true. There is a belief that there should not be graven images in art. And what I mean by graven images are, things that people would look to admire or to praise. Muslims believe that all praise that people have belongs to Allah, to God. They don't believe in capturing or producing depictions of humans. And their belief that you shouldn't capture those, these images in art is going to go even further when it comes to Muhammad. Because Muhammad is not God or a vision of God or a version of God. Muhammad is a man who is being used as a tool of God, as a prophet. And you might look at these pictures and go, oh my gosh, why is he on fire? This is like the Islamic version of the halo that you will see in Christian art. This is done on purpose because they don't want there to be, any confusion about people looking to Muhammad, as a figure that rivals God or that deserves praise, except for, the fact that he was God's chosen prophet. Okay. And so Muhammad, with all this in mind, has chose to submit to God. He returns to Mecca and he begins to convert his friends and neighbors to Islam. Khadijah, he goes home and he goes, oh, I saw this angel. And, she starts writing down the things that he says. He's got, there's this rich businessman that lives around him named Abu Bakr, who's going to convert. He starts pulling in this group, to this new religion. And they start looking to him as God's prophet. Okay. And so, this is a trading town. People travel all over the place. It's a big deal to understand that Islam, from its earliest origins, is going to be a portable faith. So here we are in Mecca, right here, right? There's Mecca. And we're about to talk about Muslims traveling right here to a place called Medina. But by the time Muhammad dies, all right, all of this territory will be controlled by Islam. And by the 660s, all this territory will be controlled by Islam. By the 730s, Islam will have expanded all the way into Southern Europe. So, the idea of these monotheistic religions that God goes with the people that believe in him, we see that in Christianity. We see that, in the diaspora in Judaism, when the Jewish people were scattered all over Southwest Asia and even into Africa and definitely into Southern Europe. Okay. So Muhammad goes back to Mecca and he recounts the revelations of Allah. Those revelations that he received are written down. Those teachings become the Quran. And this small group of people in Mecca are going to start rejecting the polytheism that they had been brought up in the Arabian Peninsula, this belief in many gods. They're going to start rejecting the traditions that they grew up with that go against the teachings of Muhammad or the teachings of Allah. They're going to become the first Muslims in the world. And it's going to start making some of the people, especially the powerful and rich people that live in Mecca, uncomfortable because they don't want to see people rejecting Arabic traditions, and they think that this is going to be a disruptive force in their society. And so one day, a bunch of these Meccans are going to surround Muhammad, and they're going to pick up stones, and they are going to try to stone him to death, to kill him for spreading this new religion and this new faith. Now, thankfully, one of the earliest converts to his teachings had been that guy I mentioned a few minutes ago, Abu Bakr, who's real rich and powerful, and he stopped everybody from killing Muhammad. So why am I telling you this story? It's not in the notes. I'm telling it to you because the event that comes after this is going to be essential to the development of Islam as a global religion. Muhammad is going to get his followers around him, and they are going to flee from Mecca to a new city that is up the coast. This flight has its own name. It is so important. It is called the Hijra. The Hijra is the beginning of the Islamic calendar. It is the flight from Mecca to a city that will eventually be called Medina. And you'll learn why this is so important to the development of Islam in just a second. I also have this over in your term list, so you're kind of writing it down twice, but it makes it really easy to find if you're scanning through, looking for some answers or something. It is the name of the flight from Mecca to Medina. So from Mecca, all the Muslims are going to gather their stuff and they're going to run up here, okay? And they go to this place. Nobody's ever heard of, Islam in Medina, which, by the way, used to be a city called Yathrib. But the people, they like the message, they like the guy, they like Islam, and they're going to start converting to the faith. The Muslims that fled with Muhammad are going to live there for years, converting people to Islam. And Muhammad is going to become not only their religious leader, but also their political leader. They are going to honor him by changing the name of the city to Medina, which means the city of the prophet. Today, if you were to travel to the city of Medina in Saudi Arabia, this is where you would find the tomb of Muhammad, which is, pictured right here. He's buried inside the dome of the Green Mosque, okay? And so why is this flight to Medina such a big deal? Well, first of all, it is the beginning of the expansion of the Islamic faith, all right? And because of this expansion, and because of the development of Islam as a religion that has some really specific practices that takes place, Medina is considered the second holiest city to Muslims. It probably does not hurt that Muhammad lived there and is also eventually buried there, okay? And so when I talk about these practices, what I mean is this. Islamic practices and teachings develop in Medina. So the rituals and traditions of the faith that Muhammad is going to model, all of these new followers are going to watch what he does, and it is going to become the basis for Muslim practice up through today. They call the model of his practices the Sunnah. They are, and if you look in your definitions, which says, what are the Sunnah? They are the habits of Muhammad that become the actions of Muslims. So, for instance, before Muhammad is going to pray to God, he washes his hands and arms and neck and, gets the dirt off of him so that he is purified for prayer. He doesn't pray once a day. He prays 5 times a day, and people watch these practices and they go, oh, well, he's sacred before God. He's God's prophet. We're going to also do these things. We're going to emulate his behaviors so that we are, being faithful Muslims. Well, when you think about people who are, becoming followers of Islam, Muslims, that's a huge number. Okay. Today, there are 50 countries on earth that the dominant religion is Islam. Today, there are at least 1.8 billion Muslims that follow the teachings of Muhammad. It is the world's fastest growing religion. Okay. And today, it is followed by a little bit over 25% of the people on earth. So, understanding the basic practices and beliefs and developments that take place in the Islamic faith is essential to you being a citizen of the world, because this is such a powerful force in the world and such a widely practiced religion and belief set. Okay? I appreciate your attention to the origins of Islam, and I will see you on our next class. Thank you.